The Chiefs' 53-man roster is in, and they went crazy on wide receivers today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Ryan Tracy, your host. Been here for a very, very long time, covering this team and this league for 13, 15 years. Worked in here as a coach, consultant, etc. for getting close to 20. Been doing it a long time, 9 years right here on this show. So welcome in. I have all that experience. You can find my work at NFL33.com and RGRfootball.com as well as right here. I appreciate if you guys check those out. We have a lot to go over today. Very excited because this is just one of our daily shows. We are daily every day, all year long, no matter what. You get us. Thanks for making us your first listen and being an everydayer. If you already are subscribed, then you already are an everydayer, and we appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Make your next listen another Locked On show. We would appreciate that because this is Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, everywhere. We are going to hit it and take away from the 53-man. As I record this, it's a little bit late tonight. Matt and I were live yesterday, and we were giving you our breakdowns. And then about a couple hours later, the actual 53 was announced. So the Chiefs pulled the wool over our eyes, and we're one of the last teams to actually report. So we're going to break it down for you. What still has to be done to kind of sort it out, that's going to come later in the show. Before we get to that, we're going to acknowledge that everything is about relationships in this league, and this proved it completely as the Chiefs cut to 53 this year. But we're going to start with where they went that threw us all off, and they have a ton of wideouts. So let's get after it. If you missed our preview shows, you can go back and check those out, but I'm going to give you a synopsis here. Chris is on vacation, so it's me today, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself, I got to tell you, because I hit 49 of the 53 players, and that's generally a player or two above where I generally get after all this time. Understand what the team's looking for, how they're about to go out it. About it. So 49 of 53, I'm going to take the win here. And what I didn't get right was crazy because they threw us all for a complete loop when they decided a number of things, but number one, to keep 8 wide receivers on this roster. It's nuts. They are Brown, Rice, Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Royals, Tyquan Thornton, Nikko Remigio, and Jason Brownlee. Both of them, all 3 of them. We've been talking about 3 guys for 2 spots for the last week, and they just decided to throw it all out the window and keep them all. Now, I don't think that's going to be permanent. This is our show on the initial 53-man roster, and we're going to see what comes after that. There will be more moves, but initially, there are 8 wide receivers on this roster. And that tells me one thing, that they are planning to do something different. 8 is not sustainable. To keep 8 wide receivers on an NFL roster just can't happen, and keep everything else flowing and stocked and have backups and rotation that you need everywhere else on the roster. So that's what's happening right now. Expect moves to come. We'll talk about a couple of options later in the show. I'll have more for you tomorrow, and we will circle back next week to see how this all falls out. We're going into a holiday weekend, and the Chiefs are going to be up early on the docket with the trip to Brazil, so they have to get some things sorted, but it doesn't all have to be right at this minute. So they took their time and kept 8 wide receivers because there is a wide receiver need across the league, and they weren't able to get some trades done. So rather than letting good commodities go, commodities that are in high demand across the league in the wide receiver group, they elected to cut some others with hopes of bringing them back to the roster. I'll talk about those in just a second, but it's the wide receivers that are carrying a lot of the value right now. So for Brett Veach in particular, Andy Reid had to sign off on this, but a lot of this is Brett Veach, I'm sure. In keeping 8 wide receivers, he now has deals he can do. Maybe easily 1, maybe 2 even. We will see how that comes down. It also buys time to continue to sort out the return duties, because Rashard Smith, the running back, quote unquote, has stayed on this roster as well. And so there's a continued evolution that you could try to find your punt and kick returners, which could then alleviate another wide receiver if you felt like you were going to move on. Right now, last guy on the roster is Jason Brownlee. He's the only one of those 8 receivers that I didn't have on the 53. I had him going to the practice squad. And that was a risk. Clearly, the team thought so as well. So they decided to keep them. So now it becomes, as all these teams cut down their rosters and they're still looking for help at the wide receiver position and looking at an ex-Super Bowl winning team, streaks of Super Bowls, and you have guys on that roster that are available by trade. That's how Brett Veach can make his value back, can make his next draft that much easier by stocking picks or getting another commodity right now for this roster that he could use, one of those being at the running back spot, where he decided, or they decided, to keep Elijah Mitchell against all odds, a guy that we thought was not going to be anywhere near touching the roster. They kept him here for now. Carson Steele, unfortunately, one of my guys, gets sent to the waiver wire. Don't know if he's going to get picked up and claimed. If he doesn't, he is then able to come back. Don't know that he will. I think he'll have more interest as a free agent than he will as a waiver claim. But I do think he will have some interest. So it becomes a story about what is the compensation versus what is the usage. And if he has a chance at a 53-man roster, I won't blame him for taking that. But I do think the Kansas City Chiefs want to get him back onto the practice squad. By keeping Mitchell instead of Steele, you basically give yourself a role that can play the third down back. That's the role you're trying to fill with that. Brashard Smith's eventually going to evolve into filling that role. So you have another need earlier right now, and Elijah Mitchell is holding that place. If you can't upgrade, you keep Mitchell, you keep on sailing, and everything works out as you expect it to. But if you're able to either make a claim on the waiver wire, I've talked about how I would think a nice fit here would be Donovan Edwards, who was waived by the New York Jets. That could be a claim that could be coming to fruition as you're seeing this post, which I will talk about tomorrow if that is the case. Might be a fit. Could be someone else. Could be another, especially someone that Chiefs have liked in the past that they weren't able to get a handle of, and they could bring someone else in. If not, they will roll with Mitchell. I didn't expect that initially, but it makes sense in terms of trying to get yourself so that you can continue to be the dynamic running back field that you want. It's not quite there yet, and I do think if they were to have to trade, the wide receiver trade that they could get compensation for would lead to a running back trade that they could pay for. And that's exactly where I think Brett Veach has left himself a lot of options. To get those deals done, it takes relationships, not just in Brett Veach to other GMs, but how you have relationships with your players. Robert Tonyan is your pal, and he proved it right now. We'll get that next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind, and now we're on to the regular season. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breaking running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy for you to get in the game. I'm really excited about not only Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but what are they going to get out of guys like Xavier Worthy, taking it to the next level? That's where I'm paying attention. If you want to get in the action, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. At Prize Picks, run your game. Make sure that you check out NFL33.com, where I write about the rest of the league, and my staff looks at the league as a whole, process, draft, what the front offices do. I think you'll enjoy it. It is a subscription Substack, so please go check it out and consider subscribing to that, as well as RGR Football, where I break things down a little bit farther with my staff there. We have a ton of fun, and I hope you'll dig it. Right now, I do want to emphasize that at this point of the season, it is about relationships, GM to GM, GM to coach, and certainly certainly player to coach and GM. Nothing illustrates that more than what the Kansas City Chiefs have done here on their cutdown day. They have placed 3 players that they have personal relationships in and trust in on waivers so that they are on release. I'm sorry, not waivers, because they are all vested veterans. So they were not waived, they were released. They are out there. They are free agents. They could do whatever they want to do. As we understand and has been reported, Robert Tonyan has already told the team, I'm willing to come back. You can cut me for a day, 2, 3, whatever it has to be, in order to do the rest of this roster gymnastics. And I will come back then. Robert Tonyan had maybe the best preseason of any pass catcher in camp. They have to have him back. He is effectively tight end 3, and that could even not be the floor. Or I think he has more in him. We'll see how that goes, but they'll bring him back. The plan is that he will re-sign with the team at a later date, not necessarily on Wednesday, but when they've had a chance to accomplish some of their other goals. That is trust, and that is something for a guy who hasn't been in Kansas City very long, that I think shows just how quickly trust can grow and what playing for a champion actually brings you. Because Robert Tonyan is going to get offers after the preseason that he's had. He will get offers. He has said that he's not going to take them, that he's going to come back to Kansas City because he wants to play for a champion, because he wants to have a chance at a title himself. And his usage in this offense is a very, very good fit. So they put him out there with the trust that he will sign back and they can keep someone on the roster right now, whether it's Mitchell or whether it's Jared Wiley at the same position. It doesn't have to be the same position, but they did. They put Wiley onto the roster to protect him. Tonyan, they knew they could negotiate with and have a plan. Same thing with Mike Pennell on the defensive side. Mike Pennell was released. They will bring him back at their earliest convenience. Now, the only twist there is that Derek Nottie was acquired back via trade. And Derek Nottie can play the 1, and he can play the run, and he can give you those base snaps that you need. I think Mike Pennell will be brought back certainly after a couple of moves. It may not be to the 53. It may be another process that he signs the practice squad and gets elevated, as we've seen him do in the past. Very much that relationship that Mike Pennell has with both Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Merritt, Andy Reid, and the front office in Brett Veach. That's trust that has to be earned, and I think that they've done that back and forth. So I expect Mike Pennell to be another guy that comes back on that kind of gentleman's agreement between veterans and teams. Now, is any of this out of the possibility for the third guy, who is Mike Edwards? Mike Edwards is a little bit banged up, not a defined injury, but he wasn't 100%. And honestly, his level of play was not maybe what we had expected. We don't know what the team expected, but it is another option for them to do the same kind of thing if they feel that safety is what they need. Now, I can't guarantee that one's going to happen. I think that's a 50-50 if Mike Edwards comes back. If he does, he has the option to come back to the practice squad where he could fulfill the Deon Bush role. Deon has been put on injured reserve. He is out for the year, but he has been on this practice squad in the past. He's come off the practice squad to make game-changing plays in playoff games because he's with the team and he understands the defense and he's able to step in at a good time and make those plays. I think Mike Edwards might be able to do the same thing. We don't know if he will. There are some other free safety particular types out there, guys with experience, other veterans that you don't have to put a waiver claim in for that could also fill that role. So it depends on whether the Chiefs are using this whole change at safety as another option for fulfilling other roles, or if they're truly looking to upgrade. We will know that on how they treat Mike Edwards in the coming future. So those are our 3 veterans that the relationship is why all of this can happen. This is going to allow you to work out your wide receiver issue. It's going to allow you to work out your running back issue. And it may just help you sort out what is eventually going to become the secondary and the tight end group. Because I do expect at some point you're going to see all these wide receivers after the trade. They'll all be back and forth, be utilized. I think all the tight ends are going to be utilized. The other moves that feed into that are that Jay Brenningstool was put on IR with the designation to return, which means he will be back in a matter of 4 weeks. So he will be reactivated. They only had 2 of those that they could use on this cutdown day. Tight end Jay Brenningstool was one of them. Keeping Wiley was a decision because you didn't want to use the other IR designated to return designation today. So they kept him, worked it out with Tonyan. I think that says quite a bit. And I do think there is a rotation or at least a possibility of getting all of these guys back. We might see them all in 2025 because it is an athletic group. It's a diverse group and a group that can learn from Travis Kelce. Now, 3 of the 4 guys that I missed were on offense, and we've discussed them. And I think they all make sense to what they are trying to do in the long term. The guy that threw me for a loop might have the most upside of any linebacker in camp. Cooper McDonald is not ready, but he might be soon. We'll talk about him coming up next. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis, and you maybe have even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Remigio ready. Remigio Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Remigio is a 3-in-1 formula, dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Remigio might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made that switch. Head over to Remigio.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL, and you'll get 15% off right now today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Remigio website for full safety information. There's a lot of moving parts when you're cutting down a roster to get ready for a season. It means you can't always get it all done at once. I think what we see here on this initial 53 is leaving room for growth. Cooper McDonald is one of those guys. I did not have him on this 53-man roster because I think that Cam Jones is a better asset on special teams right now. And I thought Dave Toby was going to win that argument. He evidently did not. The upside that Cooper McDonald showed, I think, got him onto this roster and threw my count off just a little bit. Now, that also is coincided with the fact that Jack Cochran is not going to miss time. He was back at practice on Tuesday. So that is a very good sign going forward as well. So this is definitely a depth choice here. Other than that, everything came together as we expected. I only missed 2 players on defense, and that was that Jones pick. And the other was this complication that really flew under the radar, and that was Nazeeh Johnson going to IR, designated to return as well. So 4 weeks for Nazeeh, he could be back. That was a tweak I wasn't expecting because we thought that it was an injury that he would be able to play through, rehab through, given that they have some time before week 1, and that there's also a gap after week 1 to week 2 that we'd have a little bit more recovery time. So in the end, they end up waiving Kevin Knowles, who had a very good preseason, not only as a defender, but as a special teamer. I think they're going to try to bring him back. That's definitely going to be somebody that could work into all of these moves that they have to make. And they let Melvin Smith go as well as Major Williams. All those guys are possibilities back for the actual practice squad, as are Cole Christensen, Brandon George. I think that there is a possibility that Christensen could come back because they love his special teams as well, and he's had experience here. So what does that leave us? Opportunities to upgrade positions. You have 4 safeties in Shamari Connor, Brian Cook, Jaden Hicks, and Chris Roland Wallace. That's a pretty solid set right now. The only thing that they don't have is a true free safety. There are a couple of veterans out there, including Jalen Mills, that as I record this are available that they might have to take a look at. I don't think that's going to be something that ends up getting signed, but it has to be out there. And depending on when this is released and what's happened since, given our release schedule, this may come out before additional signings happen or additional trades. So just take that with a grain of salt. And I'll have updates for you as we go through when maneuvers are made and we do have transactions. But that said, that group might need to be supplemented when you think about what the secondary is as a whole, because right now there's only 9 DBs. They want to carry 10. They almost always do. And so I do think that that is some math that's coming back towards that. We'll see what happens, whether Kevin Knowles gets back on the practice squad, if you do an elevation. What happens on offense trickles down to the defense. So there are many there. The other position of need has to be looked at is defensive tackle. And there's not a whole lot right now that I think you can do on the waiver wire. This is going to take, if you want to seriously upgrade, and Derek Nottie is not enough. Nottie might make them feel comfortable. So we can't say that this is that the team is going to do this. I think it's still worth exploring to get another pass rusher, someone else to help bring along Omar Norman-Lott as he develops, et cetera, et cetera. Let him take it easy on that ankle. There are players that they could go try to trade for. That is definitely position number one, defensive tackle, that they need to look at. On the offensive side, it is the running back spot. And with a rookie Martinez that was released, I think the Chiefs had some interest in him. I like his fit. He's not drastically different or more explosive than, say, Brashard Smith was. But with his release, he's another player that they could look at possibly making a waiver claim. Donovan Edwards being my primary running back possibility would require a waiver claim. I don't think they're going to get there. When they're claiming at 31, it just doesn't work out in your favor very often, to the point that I don't know that they'll even make a claim because of the expectation that it's just not going to happen. There are other players that will be available. They also have to consider trades for the running back spot. Kareem Hunt already has been banged up and had missed time due to an injury. Obviously, Isaiah Pacheco has had injuries as well. Elijah Mitchell has had serious injuries, and we don't even know if he's in position to be the third back right now as it stands. And I do think he is a placeholder for another player to come onto this roster. It is very, very thin at running back as well. So they have to keep beating the bushes, talking to GMs, using those relationships to try to bring back more talent into that position, because you can't let that slow you down. This offensive line group has started to come together. I think there's an option to make a trade if you get interest for Wanye Morris. They kept Morris on the roster. They have elected to waive Isapole, who I think they want to get back if any way possible. I think this was a problem in preseason that they had to address, and they had to make a decision to let Pole go in the hopes that they could get him back. I think if that happens, they're going to have a decision to make, and maybe they're shopping Wanye Morris as we speak. Maybe there is an interest. We don't know. But either way, the 9 or possibly 10, if that were to happen, offensive linemen on this roster are drastically ahead of schedule than they were last year as a group of 10 players. You have Caliendo and Norzad in there. Last year, you had Hansen in there, who did not make the roster this year. I think he might be back for the practice squad, but that's an upgrade. Obviously, having Moore as your swing tackle is a huge upgrade over your depth at tackle last season. So that is a position group that if you had to part with someone in depth, you could maybe get that done. The primaries, along with the wide receivers, are some moves that could be made here in the next few days over the Labor Day weekend. We'll see what happens. If something happens like that, I will break it down for you wherever I'm at, as I'll be traveling for the holiday as well. But there are a couple of things that still need to happen if we want to make sure that we are all manned and ready for that first preseason game. And that is, you got to stock the practice squad. A lot of these players are going to have the option to come back. There might be a claim or two. I don't expect a ton. I expect one of the quarterbacks to make it back to the practice squad. Probably more likely be a Lukun, but I can't tell you for sure. We're going to find that out and have reaction there. I think you're going to get some of the wide receivers back. I hope Elijah Badger is one of them. I think he showed some things. I think Magdalena showed some things as well. I'd like to see him back. in addition. That practice squad is what you pull from for special teams. It's what you pull from for injuries. You got to make sure that you're stocking that. In reality, the NFL is now a 69-man roster. 53 on the active, 16 on the practice squad. In Kansas City's particular position and this time of year, I think they're going to be a 70-man roster because I think they're going to get an exemption to bring Chu Godric back, the offensive lineman that they did release yet again. He's been on the practice squad before. He's an international player. They can designate him as such, and they can bring him back as the 17th member of the practice squad. Now, all this said, there's a lot to go over. The player personnel group is still doing a ton of homework. Brett Veach and a lot of the leaders in that front office are on the phones trying to work deals as well. And I don't think it's done. This might be a little bit more active than we've seen this team be in the last few years. And if they are, I'll have it for you. Chris will have it for you. And we're always here for you 5 days a week. So make sure that you like and you sub and you're with us as much as you can be as well. I hope you're excited. Tuesday was an active day. It's very late here. By the time you see this, it will have been processed and things may have happened on Wednesday. I'll have more for you tomorrow on that and all the follow that you need to know. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure that you not only follow us, but you follow the next Locked On show. That's your team every day, everywhere across the whole network. And you can even get fantasy and a lot of other great shows at the national level. So check those out as well. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.